This video demonstrates the use of views and 2D markups in Visicon. We'll start by opening a model. So this is a model that we imported from Revit. Our objective now is to define different unique views and provide 2D markups. So let's go ahead and zoom into a portion of the model. And the first thing I want to do is go to the project browser. We'll expand the project browser until we see all the tools. And so on the right side, we can see there's an icon for views. So when we click the views, the default is, you have one view that's called default. You also, under the full export from Revit, could have exported all of the predefined views in a Revit model. But in this case, I chose not to do that. I did the quick export. And so I just end up with a clean model with no views. The default view is something that allows you to add, think of it as a watermark or an overlay that will always be persistent no matter where you are navigating in the model. So let's go ahead and define that. So I go to the views. So all of our 2D markup, or what we call overlays, are accessible through this tab. So we'll start, and let's say we want to add some text. So we'll insert the text on top. I double click the text, and I can come in and let's say call this high-rise tower revision A. I can come in here and expand the text box, and anything that you define as an overlay while it's active has its own properties. So here I can see the text box. I can come in, reduce the font to 12. I can change the color of the text to, let's say, we'll make it red. And we'll close this. And so this is now the high-rise tower. I can grab this text at any time and move it. This is just the overall box that allows me to kind of control the text. So now this labeling will be available and visible in any view that you have. This is very useful if you're going to be marking up the model and sharing it with other stakeholders on the project. And that way you can put kind of basic messaging or revision numbers or whatever you want right there. That's always in the heads-up display. So now that we're in the Views tab, let's say we want to come in and we want to define new views. And what you'll notice is I just tried to move the view, and by default, this view is, as soon as you add an overlay, gets locked. So I'm going to unlock it so that my default view is essentially still movable. So I'm going to come in and let's say we want to add some additional annotation to this particular level here. So I come in and I say create a new view. So you'll see here it created a new view. At this point, this view is still fully editable. I can do two things. I can either completely lock down a view, which means I can't change visibility, or I can come in and just lock the camera position. The camera position is automatically locked as soon as I add my first overlay. So in this case, let's say I just want to add a circle, so I want to just highlight a general area. Again, similar to the text, I can come in here and give it, for example, a fill opacity. We'll make that yellow, and essentially this now becomes our little highlighted area. I can then come in, and if I exit out of that, let's say we'll do a call out. So essentially the call out, I can essentially draw a box, add text here that, for example, says move column. Again, similar to the other text, I can come in here and make changes. So this I'll make, again, 12. And I could provide other, essentially all of the parameters of this callout are editable. So I'm going to come in here and just essentially adjust the size. And so this is going to be my text. So I can come in here. So this is one, let's say, view. When I select this, just like, for example, in any Microsoft Office product where you're dealing with graphics, you can move these objects or these overlays up or down so that you can access them more easily. Let's go ahead and create a new view. I'm going to just go select the background, add a new view. So here you see I have my default, which is always there. This is my untitled, so I'm going to call this view of column. Coming to this new view, and let's actually this was this one. So now I'm gonna, I guess it's sorted alphabetically here based on, you see this was what was set. So I'm going to call this now. Just call it added comments, and you can, I'll just give you a sampling of essentially all the other markups. So essentially anything you can place these objects once you click on the actual center, they're editable, and you can always come in and modify any of these control points. So that's, so we had the line, you have a continuous line. Again, I can take the continuous line and even do things like make this 6. So you have full control over visibility. We went through the arrow, circles, rectangles, and the text that we've already done. So this is just a quick overview, so I can come in and just simply add as many views as I need. And at any point when I go back into one of these views, for example, I can unlock the view and change it around. Right, so now I can realign and lock it. If I go to one of these new views right here, I can, for example, also select some of these columns. So the way I do the multi-select is I right-click with my mouse, and if I go right to left, it selects everything that it touches. If I go on the other side and do the right-click, it only selects those components that it selects completely. So in this case, I'm going to go right to left, for example, and we're going to essentially go in and with that selection and make those transparent. So this can now become part of view 3. This is view 2, and so forth. So what you see is that you can very easily essentially define and manage different types of views. So that concludes the video on the description of how to define and work in views, as well as add the 2D overlays.